it's actually, I suppose it touched on something that my experience in terms of the biomechanics, something I wasn't too aware of at a younger age, and I cracked on quite early with weights, and I actually used to do a lot of basketball training, which as a kid did a lot of benefit for me in terms of spring, etc. The problem I had was biomechanically I wasn't doing it correctly, and obviously certain issues I had then 3-4 years down the line, that at the time it wasn't even I didn't even consider it. It was only then a few years later as you kind of realise you're not quite doing it right. And I think that's a great bit of advice, to do it without weight to begin with, and I guess have someone there that can tell you you're doing the technique correctly, someone with that knowledge.
And even whether it's regard core work, in terms of conditioning, or if it's just real light plyometric type work, just to ensure that you're doing it correctly, because the last thing you want is a problem further down the line which you need to rectify.
Yeah, I suppose a couple of other things. Speed of feet being one, which I see now for a goalkeeper is huge. Any simple drills? I see ladders, etc.
This is purely my principle, and some people would say, well, I don't agree with it or whatever. In terms of ladders and in terms of cone work, I have no problems at all if goalkeepers, even when they come with the 21s, I actually set the discs up and I said, look, if you want to do anything, fine. So they'll go through all the different directional movements and bits and pieces. One thing I don't do, I never use ladders in the goal. I never use hurdles in the goal. Hoops or whatever. Once they go into the goal, what I want to try and replicate is a game situation. So all my practices that I do in the goal, their footwork is never dictated by a rung of a ladder or by a cone. So it's just one of my principles. So if I'm doing practices sort of outside the goal, warm-up practices, then as I say, the option is to use cones. But once they get inside the goal, it's the ball themselves and the net. And that's just
is that a principle familiarity thing, I guess? I suppose
that's all I'm doing is replicating the game. Because I have seen practices, where the goalkeepers are working ladders and they're working their feet boom, 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 all the way through, and then dealing with the strike into the goal. Would they make that movement on a Saturday? And if they needed to get from A to B, they wouldn't. They probably they work their feet certainly in terms of a lot longer, to get themselves into line earlier so they can get themselves set for the strike. So but it's just a philosophy, and just one of the other things that once they get in the goal, I don't do a lot of practices where it's predictable, where the goalkeeper knows where the ball is actually going. Because and this was something Roy Tunks, who used to work with Tim Flowers at Blackburn Rovers, Tunksy said to me one day, he said Tim hates anything where he knows where the ball is going. And I said, all right. And I thought, I know the answer, because obviously you start to anticipate. And I said, why is that then? He said he just feels, because he knows where it's going, that he's anticipating, So he did very little practices when he was in the goal, where he was working right and then working left, or working left and working right, or working low then working high. What he wanted to see the ball and then just react to the ball and obviously deal with the ball. And that's a principle I've, if County had the patency for it, sorry mate, I picked it off. But yeah, so I think I've gone full circle, because as I said, I've gone through a lot of what's new, what's everybody else doing. I've been fortunate enough, I've been all over Europe to look at what other countries do. I had 6 days at Real Madrid, which was fantastic, and really highlights, when you're talking about the modern goalkeeper. I was looking at the website, and you're talking about speed, absolutely crucial. To play in the modern game, if you ain't got speed, forget it. So
I was going to say, we're going to move on to that in a minute, because the next kind of section with I suppose the modern goalkeeper, and the fact you say you've been to Real Madrid, I'm obviously fascinated to hear more about that, especially with the influx of Spanish goalkeepers and the way they've almost changed goalkeeping to some aspect.